Hey guys, going to go through an add-on called ItemRack. So this is an add-on that manages different gear sets. Back in the day, there was an add-on called Outfitter. I don't know if that add-on still exists. I know when Classic Era first launched, I'm pretty sure I used to use Outfitter. So that was 3, 4 years ago. I know I used Outfitter back in the day in the original TBC and Wrath days, but I don't know if it still exists. Item Rack is very similar to Outfitter, so if you were familiar with that, um, it's a way for you to automatically change pieces of gear or entire gear sets. So things the probably the main uh, thing or event or whatever that it was used for was being on a mount. So every time you would get on a mount, it would like automatically equip a riding crop or a carrot on the stick or boots that have mithril spurs, things like that. So item rack is very very similar. So I'm going to show you guys how to set it up. So once you download it, you probably won't see, you'll have a mini map icon, or you can just go to, let's see. I was in the right spot to begin with. Yeah, I don't think there's an option in here. So what you do is you alt click on your character screen. Hold on a second. So mine just disappeared. Oh, there it is. So when you alt click on your character screen, so you hold down alt and you just click like in the window in your character, right? And then you can right click on that icon, and your icon will probably just be blank or default, whatever. You go over to config, and then you can unlock the buttons, and then you can drag it wherever you want, and it will like auto dock with other buttons. So if you want to have, so for me, so this is my quote unquote main button, right? This is where all my sets are, and then I have my two trinkets and my belt. Now, if you want to, and the reason I have the belt is because these are just quick access buttons essentially. So if you want to have, like, let's say you have a pair of legs or something, or a ring, you want to be able to swap your rings out, whatever slot you want to be able to see down here, you just hold down alt and then click it, and then it pops out. So see, now it's here. Now I can drag it over. And then you can delete. So once it's so this is unlocked now, right? So I can go to auto queue, I can go to remove, I can go to options, and then I can lock the buttons. So that just is this, now this slot, anytime, if I go pick, let's say I go pick Circlet of Applied Force, see, it automatically equipped it. So it's just a quick way for you to change pieces of gear without opening your character pane, is essentially what these individual, links are. And what this does is, this is if you want to do entire sets of gear. And I know that my character screen is kind of smushed over here due to my, I can't remember how I got that to show up before. There, this might be a little bit better. So right now, I'm wearing my threat set of gear. If I take a ring off, you'll see now it doesn't know what set I'm wearing. So the set that I'm wearing now, including this ring, it's saying custom because it doesn't know what set I'm wearing. So if I go back and click on threat, you'll see it'll automatically change. If I click on 4-piece tier 3, it'll equip all the pieces that I have set up for 4-piece tier 3. Weapons, everything, trinkets. Now, the ones that are outlined in red, that means I don't have the gear in my bags. And it tells you over on the right-hand side, over here, it'll tell you what pieces are missing. So I'm missing Dark Iron Helm, Dark Iron Legs, and Ixia Scale Cloak. For the Mulgrain set, I'm missing Dark Iron Helm. Everything else is in my bags. The mounts, this is just Boots of Heroism and Carrot on the Stick, because the Boots of Heroism have Mithril Spurs on them. So you can see how quick and easy it is. And you can also keybind these. So I don't key bind mine, but you can go to bind key and it will let you bind a key that you can basically, I just use this. I just use this pop out menu. So if we're running to military wing, I just mouse over and then I go 4-piece. And if we're heading to spider wing, I'll mouse over threat. If I'm heading, if I'm going to do patchwork and main tank, I'll go to my patchwork main tank set and click on that. And you can see how fast it's just automatically changing gear. So the way that you set this up is, because when you start, you're going to have no gear sets, right? So what you want to do first is you want to equip the set of gear that you want. So like, let's say I'm going to put on, let me just put on like all my mitigation stuff. I don't know if I've got a set. Let's see if it finds it. Oh, I don't have the gloves. Yeah, we'll leave tier 1 on. Don't have the belt. I'll do this. So you put all the gear on that you want. So you do this first. Create all the gear first. It's easier to do it this way, in my opinion. Put this ring on. Put this ring on. Okay. Leave the trinkets alone. So you see now it says custom, right? So what you do is you right click on that and it'll auto populate everything you're wearing right this moment. Okay. Now the drop down, this is where all my sets are. So if I want to make a new set, let's just say I want to call this MIT main tank, or whatever you want to call it, and then you pick an icon that's going to let you remember that. So let's say I'll do like my tier 3 helmet. Okay, now you hit save. Okay. So now you can see right here. Oh wait, nope, this one, MIT main tank. So now I'm going to change. So let's change the threat. And now go main tank. And it puts on all the pieces I just had. Now, if you want to change a piece, let's say you did that and you went, oh, whoops, I meant to have life-giving gem in there. So there's 2 ways you can do that. So you can right-click this. You can change it here, just like you're changing a set of gear, and then you can hit save. Or you can open your character pane, put on life-giving gem. See, now it says custom because it doesn't know what set I'm wearing because I just changed a piece. You right-click, it still says MIT main tank, but now it has the life-giving gem there. You hit save, and now you see the icon updated. Now I'm wearing the set. So now just to show, we'll go back to threat again. Okay, Black Hand's Breath. All my other pieces, go back to MIT main tank, and then bam, life-giving gem. So it's very handy whether you're a DPS, healer, tank. If you're a tank, I don't want to say that this is a required add-on, but this makes your life so much easier as a tank. Because like I said, if you're in Molten Core, you're probably going to wear the same set of gear the entire raid of Molten Core. Even if you're an up-and-coming Fury Prot tank or whatever kind of tank you are. As you get more and more pieces of gear, like in AQ40, I don't have a set for Nature Resist, but I do have a set for Frost Resist in Nax. I do have a mitigation set. Let's say I want to delete this set, so I don't want to remove the slot menu. You right click and then you just go select the set. So main tank. Now I'm gonna hit delete. Okay, now when I go back, my icons, it'll automatically fill up each row as you go. So a lot of these sets are set up for AQ40 and Nax, but obviously you can still set them. Like I have a DPS set when I'm not main tanking, if I'm not expected to be a chase tank. So I can just quickly click on that, and then I've got CTS, Hungering Cold. I got Lionheart Helm. This is my DPS set. I got a threat set. I have Patchwork Soaking set, which includes a shield. So basically, this is like a full mitt set. I have a separate mitt set that I wear on Lotheb. Actually, I need to swap this out. Swap that trinket. Save that. Mulgrain. I have a set for Mulgrain, which I don't have on me. The Mulgrain, I have the Dark Iron Helm, Dark Iron Legs. I have a set for Flask. I have a set for Fire Resistance. 2-piece tier 3, 4-piece tier 3. I really don't like the 2-piece tier 3 set. I'll probably delete that at some point. 4-piece tier 3, I use this all the time. I use this in AQ40 for some things, some trash pulls and some bosses, but I use it in Nax quite a bit. This is what I use in almost all of Military Wing, almost all of A-Bomb Wing. It's a very good tanking set. If you're a healer, you could have a set that is an MP5 set, a crit set, a max mana set, a DPS set. Like for Lotheb, if you're a healer, you're not super concerned about MP5 or mana because you can only heal once per minute. So you might put on a set that includes some spell hit and spell damage instead of healing, so that way you can cause damage and speed the encounter up. So it's very handy add-on to very quickly switch pieces of gear. Now something else you can do, so like my mounted set, for example, which I don't even use anymore. When you come in here, so all I really showed you is how to save a set and then how to change a set, right? And then I showed you how to bring out, like if you want to bring out trinkets, and this is really just, so this also uses them. If you left click, it'll use that trinket. Okay. If you right click, it uses the trinket too, I think. But this one can't obviously be used. When you hover over it, it pops out this menu. So if let's say I put on 4-piece tier 3 and then I'm like, I want life-giving gem on, I can manually do that. So I can even though I was in 4-piece tier 3, everything else is the same. Now I got life-giving gem on. And then when it's done, or I can say I'm going to teleport, after the raid's over, I'm going to teleport to Overlook. I can just do it right from here without opening my bags and opening my character screen. You're just basically dragging that functionality out to here. So that's how you manually do it. You can also do it through something called events. So once you have gear sets set up, and you need to set up the gear set first, you can then do an event. Like I have an event called Kel'Thuzad Chamber. So if we look at this, what this says is the type of event. So it can be a buff, a stance, a zone, or a script. So I did a zone because there's a sub-zone in Nax called Kel'Thuzad Chamber. When I go into Kel'Thuzad Chamber, it automatically, as soon as it pops up here and says, the sub-zone you're in is Kel'Thuzad's Chamber, I automatically will equip 4-piece tier 3 as my set. And then I could say unequip on leaving the zone. So the way you do that, let's say I want to do like fire res. So you pick it, go to events, and then you could make an event that says you could do a script. Zone. You could say well, you can't do it by target. I probably wouldn't do this with fire resistance, actually. I would use a weak aura instead. But you can do scripting, and I've never really done the scripting in here. But this is another way that you can do this. I'm going to cancel that out. So mounted, let's look at what mounted says. So it's a buff. So mounted buff, name of the buff, any mount. So it's any mount you can do except in PvP instances, except in PvE instances. Unequip when the buff fades. So what that means is when you mount, it'll equip that set. When you dismount and the buff disappears, it'll unequip that set and go back to what you had before. So it's very useful. I just quit using it because I had bag space issues for a long time and I didn't need to have. I felt like this mounted speed wasn't worth it. As you can see, you can do city. You can do drinking if you're drinking. You can do... there's a Nefarian's Lair in here, so you could say just equip. So let's say you wanted to do that. Let's say you wanted to do a set. Let's see. Let's go to my mounted set because I want to show you how to leave things out. Because this is what's going to happen. let's say you're not a full bis tank, or you're not close to full bis, you're in molten core or whatever, and you set up a mitigation set, right? Well then if you go, so like let's look at my mitigation set here. So you see under my mitigation set, everything is highlighted except my shirt, my tabard, my arrows, my trinket. So what that means is ignore those slots. So whatever trinket I have on, and whatever arrows I'm using, and whatever tabard I have on, and whatever shirt I have on, as long as these pieces are equipped, that's what I want equipped, and that's going to equal my mit. Really, this says mit with hit, but now it's my mitigation set. And the way you do that is you just right click. So if you say I want you to ignore that slot, you just right click, and if you right click again, it will like remember it. So if I put on trying to figure out what I'm going to put on, because I do have auto queue set up on some of these. Okay, so let's do life-giving gem and then mit with hit. So you see it didn't try to swap that trinket. Let's bring this back up. But what happens is, like your arrows, for example, like these are thorium-headed arrows. If I ran out of these and I ran to the vendor and bought jagged arrows, and I went to equip my set, it would equip everything, but then it would throw an error in the chat saying can't find thorium-headed arrow or whatever. Or if you left a piece in the bank, or you know, like, or if you had a different tabard on, if you were like I wear Stormpike's battle tabard, if you were wearing your guild tabard, it would start throwing errors. And it just gets annoying. So I just hide these because I don't really care what tabard or shirt I'm wearing. I care about these pieces of gear. But you can certainly set up a set and say, don't worry about what belt I've got on. I want my belt to always stay the same. You could leave it in there and just make it the same belt across every set. But that's how you do that. And that's why they're grayed out versus being highlighted. So we can lock buttons. You can enable events, which we've done. Enable auto queues. So the way that auto queues work is these are set specific. So I'm going to show you the one that I have for this set, which is my threat main tank set. So you have to pick the set first, then you go to queue, and it says choose a slot to set up its auto queue order. This is mainly used for trinket swapping. So let's pick this one. Then you pick auto queue this slot, and then I don't have Earth Strike on me anymore, but this is what you would do. So you would say, bring this down, and you would say, you pick which, so you have priority, and then you have pause queue. So I would say, let's assume I had Earth Strike in my bags, I probably would put Earth Strike first, right? And I would say this is the priority, and if you mouse over it, it says it back in the bottom right corner. This will auto equip even when this item comes off cooldown, even if the equipped item is off cooldown and waiting to be used. So what that means is if I use Earth Strike, as soon as the buff from Earth Strike goes away and I'm out of combat, because you can't swap trinkets in combat, this add-on will automatically swap to Slayer's Crest. When I say that this is the priority, what that means is as soon as Earth Strike is ready to use, it will swap out out of Slayer's Crest, even if I haven't used Slayer's Crest yet. So you can leave that checked or you can uncheck it. It really depends on how you want to play. But this is how you can auto swap trinkets and make sure that you're constantly using them and keeping them in a rotation. Something else you could do is you could say, well, I don't have Earth Strike or I don't want to use it, but I want to have this one slot, I want Black Hand's Breath. So anytime I use Slayers, then I want to swap out Black Hand's Breath. I would probably not do that because I think Slayers is a better trinket. Slayers gives you 64 attack power when it's not being used. But if you don't have Slayers yet and you have Earth Strike and Black Hand's Breath and Diamond Flask, you could certainly have a queue set up to swap Earth Strike and Diamond Flask when each other is on cooldown. Okay? So then when you're done, and I'm just setting it back to how I had it, because I don't swap anything out for this trinket anymore. I manually swap out, or I swap out based on my gear sets. But when I get Kiss of the Spider, I probably will have Kiss of the Spider in here, and it will be the priority. And then I'll have, whenever it's on cooldown, I'll probably swap it out for, or I'll swap, excuse me, I won't do that. I'll swap out, Slayers will be in this trinket slot. So let's look at that trinket slot. Okay, let's go back to sets. Now go Q. Let's click on this one. So when I get Kiss of the Spider, Kiss will go in this trinket, and then Slayers will go in this trinket slot. So what I would do is I would bring this up, and I'll say Slayers is the priority, and anytime it's off cooldown, it will go back, and then I'll just swap out Black Hand's Breath when it's on cooldown. Something like that. I don't even know if I'm actually going to do that or not, but that's what you would do. So I don't want Slayers in that slot. I want Black Hand's Breath. And then you can say stop the queue. You can also do something called pause. So pause is very helpful. So watch what happens. So right now I'm in my threat set, right? And let's say I try to put on Stylines. You see it's automatically swapped back. Say, no, I want Stylines. Oh, it automatically swapped back again. So what's going on? So if I go to Q, go to that slot, okay, I'm auto queuing that slot. But what happens is this is off cooldown right now. So when it's off cooldown, it's going to take precedent over anything you put into that slot, unless you swap gear sets. So if I swap complete gear sets, like go to Mitt with Hit, okay, then I try it. It's not going to do it because I don't have that slot auto queued in this gear set. I actually have counterattack loads. Okay, this is old, obviously. So it can't find that. So and then it's stopping the queue. So that's why it's not trying to change it. Let's go back to Mitt with, let's go back to threat. Okay. So the way that you stop that, like if I put in life-giving gem though, you see that turns red. Even though I manually put it in, it's pausing. It's pausing because I told it to. So you can go down the list and you can say, if I put this on and I'm gonna use this, pause the queue until I manually change it. And if you hover over this, it says, check this to suspend the auto queue for the slot until the item is unequipped. For instance, if you have another mod handling the auto equip of a riding crop, or if you're manually doing it like I just did. So if you have a weak aura, like I have a weak aura that automatically changes this trinket out for Mark of the Champion when I target undead or demons. So I have Mark of the Champion set up. See, it turned red. This is set up as a pause. Dimensional Ripper is set up as a pause. See? Pause. So what that means is don't try to swap this trinket out, even if Slayers is ready, because I want you to pause and wait for me. Or my other add-on or weak aura or whatever the case may be. So that's how you can stop it from taking that trinket out. Now Stylines though, I don't have it set as a pause, right? Which is good because I don't want Stylines on. The only time I ever put Stylines on is, I don't think I use it anymore at all actually. I think I might use it on Twins. I don't have a setup for Twins, but I think what I usually do on Twins is swap this trinket because I know this one doesn't have this one's not auto queued. Because Mark of the Champion on the Twins doesn't work. They're not undead or demon. So if I have last stand off cooldown, then I'll use Stylines, and if it is on cooldown, I'll use life-giving gem. And even then, probably Black Hands is maybe a better choice, but you know. So that's how you set it up and use it. And again, I didn't go over keybinds. You can do keybinds. I've never really felt the need. I have a ton of keybinds that I use. As you can see, I've got every my stances are keybound. So I have F1 through F3 are for my stances. I have all my bars are keybound here. This entire bar is keybound all the way down to the health stone. And then I have this entire bar keybound all the way down here. I don't have a ton of keybinds left. I have my mount keybound. So I don't feel the need to have another 8 keybinds for all these different sets. You can certainly keybind them. Maybe if you have a mouse that has a bunch of buttons on it. But I've always been able to manage it just by hovering over and just selecting the set that I need. Most guilds are not going to run fast enough where you can't change your gear. Or if you go into a pool and your health is dipping and you're like, oh crap, I got the wrong set on. You can change it right after combat, so it's not like you're stuck. So I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, I would lock the button. If you want to move stuff around, like I said, you can move the entire set around. I can't remember how to move just one. Is it shift? Oh yeah, shift. Okay, so if you hold down shift, then it breaks the bar apart. So you have to have it unlocked and then hold down shift and then left click. And then, so you could stack them. You can, I probably wouldn't because the menu pops up and I don't remember if there's a way to set the menu. Show tooltips, tiny tooltips, cooldown numbers. Yeah, there's a couple of other. There's some options in here that I've never really used. You can change the button spacing and the button scale. You can make the buttons. I'm at 0.95, so you can make the buttons bigger. What's going on? Why do I have errors? I have my sound turned off and I just saw that message pop up. So I'm going to put my trinkets back together here. So you just move them next to each other and you see it'll like highlight, it'll show where it's going to kind of snap to. And then I just, I like mine just sitting right here where I can easily see them and monitor them. Because I also use this for trinkets. I can see when that trinket's on cooldown, right? So when I can see when it has like 5 seconds left and it's ready to come off cooldown and be used again. So I like having it right here where I can see it. So that's ItemRack. You can change weapons using it. Whoops. Oh wait. Well, you'd have to bring the weapons out. So you'd have to, do the hold down alt and click, and then you can change weapons like this. But I don't think it works in combat. I think you still have to click and drag stuff out of your bags. I don't think it works in combat. I'd have to test it. And I don't really swap weapons. I have macros that swap my weapons, so I don't rely on... you have to unlock them to delete it. I don't rely on ItemRack to do that. Okay. All right. So if anybody has any questions, like I said, this can be useful for healers. I have a paladin healer that I don't really raid that much on. I have like some molten core gear and that's it. But if I was raiding on that character, I probably would set up different sets. I'd probably have, like I said, I'd have one maybe for a bunch of spell damage and healing for Lotheb, to do more damage, to go up in melee and whatever, holy shock, or I don't know, whatever. If I was a priest, is probably going to use ItemRack better than a paladin would. But you could set up like an all crit set. You could set up a max MP5 set. You could set up a max healing, whatever whatever the case may be. Because sometimes, like a lot of time, like rogues, for example, I know a lot of rogues that are very good players. They will swap weapons on trash because there's certain weapons that do like 5 more DPS on trash versus bosses because they don't need as much hit rating, or they don't need as much, I was going to say expertise, but that's not what I'm trying to say. Weapon skill, stuff like that. I mean, if you're a healer and you're, heading into military wing, which I know military, it can be very stressful for heals. Maybe you, and I've never healed next, but maybe you want to have the most mana possible. So you have a set of gear that has all your pieces with the most intellect. Like, and for tanks especially, I'm going from, like my threat set to my 4-piece set, and I can see what stats, I've already done it on paper, but you can see kind of what stats you're giving up and what stats are going down, what stats are going up. And then if you don't like it or you get an upgrade, you can swap a few pieces out until you get your stats where you like them. and then right click and hit save, and bam, you just saved your set. It's really handy. So if anybody has any questions or needs any further clarification, you know, pop a comment down there, and I'll see you guys in the next video.